وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لقد أنزلنا آيات مبينات والله يهدي من يشاء إلى صراط مستقيم ويقولون آمنا بالله وبالرسول وأطعنا ثم يتولى فريق منهم من بعد ذلك وما أولئك بالمؤمنين وإذا دعوا إلى الله ورسوله ليحكم بينهم إذا فريق منهم معرضون وإن يكن لهم الحق يأتوا إليه مذعنين أفي قلوبهم مرض أم ارتابوا أم يخافون أن يحيف الله عليهم ورسوله بل أولئك هم الظالمون إنما كان قول المؤمنين إذا دعوا إلى الله ورسوله ليحكم بينهم أن يقولوا سمعنا وأطعنا وأولئك هم المفلحون صدق الله العظيم وبلغنا رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Surah Noor, this part of the surah relates to the munafiqeen, the hypocrites. The hypocrites were such people that they claimed Islam, but in their heart they did not believe in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Although they knew that he is the true Prophet of Allah, but they had become Muslims only to gain worldly benefits, and they did not have faith in their hearts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, لَقَدْ أَنزَلْنَا آيَاتٍ مُبَيِّنَاتٍ, we have for sure, verily we have sent down ayat, signs, mubayyinat, open, clear signs that make everything very clear. وَاللَّهُ يَهْدِي مَن يَشَاءُ إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ, and Allah guides whomsoever He wishes to the straight path. So we should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ اهْدِنَا الصِّرَاطَ الْمُسْتَقِيمَ. What we ask in every salah, every rak'ah of every salah, that Ya Allah guide us to the right path, because guidance is only from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَيَقُولُونَ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِالرَّسُولِ وَأَطَعْنَا. They say, so basically the hypocrites say, آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ, we brought faith in Allah, we believe in Allah, وَبِالرَّسُولِ, and the messenger, وَأَطَعْنَا, and we have adopted obedience, we are going to obey. ثُمَّ يَتَوَلَّى فَرِيقٌ مِّن بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ, then a group from among them goes back after all this. وَمَا أُولَٰئِكَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ, Allah is saying, those are no believers, they are not believers. So anybody who has a deficiency in any of these things, Iman in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or upon the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, or when the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam is calling them, and he is there and he is calling them and they turn away and do not listen to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that also constitutes kufr. وَإِذَا دُعُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ لِيَحْكُمَ بَيْنَهُمْ إِذَا فَرِيقٌ مِّنْهُمْ مُعْرِضُونَ, when they are called, when they are summoned to Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So herein, when Allah is saying that they are called towards Allah and His Messenger, in reality, and this ayah has a particular background, but the meaning is general, the principles given in the Quran is general. There was a person called Bishr, and he was a munafiq, he was a hypocrite, claimed Islam but did not have respect for the Prophet ﷺ, in his heart did not have belief. The way of these hypocrites was that when they would run into a dispute with someone, and if they knew that they are right, then they would very happily, in a very agreeing fashion, they would go to the Prophet ﷺ to have their matter resolved, because they knew that the Prophet ﷺ is going to pass a judgment based on justice. But if they were in the wrong, then they would not want to go to the Prophet ﷺ, run here and there. So this person called Bishr, he ran into a dispute with a Jewish person, and the Jewish person knew that he was on the right side of things, so he said, let's go to your own Nabi and get this resolved. Because the Jewish people also knew that the Prophet ﷺ is going to decide based on fairness, he's going to give a fair judgment. But this person, Bishr, he knew that he did not have any rights, so he said that I'm not going to go to the Prophet ﷺ, rather I'm going to go to Ka'b Ahbar. And he was a Jewish person. So these people were such hypocrites. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from all sort of hypocrisy. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that they are called towards Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was not Allah calling them into the skies. Basically the meaning is that whatever the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is calling towards, it is basically through and through calling towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The call of Allah and Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the same. And if somebody is turning away from Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they are in fact indeed turning away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So basically there is no faith without believing in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and listening to him and obeying his call. When they are called towards Allah and Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, His Rasul, liyahkuma bainahum, so that they may judge between them. إِذَا فَرِيقٌ مِّنْهُمْ مُعْرِضُونَ, there is a group among them that will turn away. وَإِن يَكُنْ لَهُمُ الْحَقُّ يَأْتُوا إِلَيْهِ مُذْعِنِينَ, and if the right is theirs, they would come to him as if they were submissive ones. So at that time they will become very submissive and come to the Prophet ﷺ if they had a right. أَفِي قُلُوبِهِم مَرَضٌ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is presenting three things, that what is the reason that they do this. أَفِي قُلُوبِهِم مَرَضٌ أَمِ ارْتَابُوا أَمْ يَخَافُونَ أَنْ يَحِيفَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ وَرَسُولُهُ. Is it that there is a sickness in their hearts? أَمِ ارْتَابُوا, or they have doubt. أَمْ يَخَافُونَ أَنْ يَحِيفَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ وَرَسُولُهُ, or do they fear that Allah and His Messenger will do injustice to them? So Allah is saying that is there some sickness in their heart, or that they do not have they do not know that Allah's Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the true Nabi, or do they think that even if he's the true Nabi, he's going to pass a judgment based on injustice? Allah is saying, no, none of those are true. Bal ulaika humul zalimun, rather they themselves are unjust people. They have this transgression within them. Because of that, they know fully well that he's the Rasul of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They fully know that he is going to pass a judgment based on fairness, but they have this sickness. They are the transgressors, they are the unjust people. If they are not on the right side of things, then they want to run away from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Compared to these people, إِنَّمَا كَانَ قَوْلَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذَا دُعُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ, the believers, when they are called إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ, again towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger, إِذَا دُعُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ, when they are called, this is the only reply and nothing else but this is the reply of the believers when they are called لِيَحْكُمَ بَيْنَهُمْ, so that a judgment may be passed among them. أَن يَقُولُوا, that they say, سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا, we have heard and we have obeyed, or we listen and we obey. وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ, such people are the successful ones. So therefore in this ayah again Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that the call of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the call of Allah indeed. Listening to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is listening to Allah indeed. And to say sami'na wa ata'na to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that we have heard and we obey, is saying sami'na wa ata'na, we have heard and we obey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these are the people who are muflihun, these are the people who are successful. So if somebody says that I'm going to listen to Allah and not listen to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or I'm going to follow the Quran only and not the Hadith, essentially in practical terms, then they are not muflihun, they are not believers, they are zalimeen, they have turned away from the right faith. وَمَن يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ, whoever obeys Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَيَخْشَى اللَّهَ, and fears Allah, وَيَتَّقْهِ, and has awe of Him and observes taqwa, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَائِزُونَ, those are the people who are the victorious. About this ayah it is written that in the time of Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anh, there was a person who was a layman. He came and he said, he stood next to Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh and said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. So Umar radiallahu anh said, what's going on? He said, I want to bring faith, I'm bringing faith, I'm entering Islam. So Umar radiallahu anh asked him that what became the reason. He said that I have read about the other books, I have read other books, and then I heard this one ayah of the Quran, which is that وَمَن يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ, whoever obeys Allah and His Rasul, وَيَخْشَى اللَّهَ وَيَتَّقِي, and has awe of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَيَتَّقِي, and fear of the future, taqwa, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَائِزُونَ. He said that this combines all the teachings of all other books. And when I heard that this sentence is in the Quran, I knew right away that this is the right and true and final book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, comprehensive book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because this talks about these four things, which is the essential things of faith. Belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, listening and obeying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's command, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So this is Tawheed, oneness of Allah, the obedience to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam and submission, which is Risalat, and obeying and bringing faith in the Prophet of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. وَيَخْشَى اللَّهِ وَيَتَّقِي, having fear and repenting over what has been done, and وَيَتَّقِي, and having fear and awe of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the future. فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَائِزُونَ. This combines everything, this does not leave anything. As Umar Khattab radiallahu anhu, upon listening to this, said, yes, this is true, because our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam was given Jawami'ul Kalim. This is one of those things that the words of the Quran and the word of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, they are very comprehensive. Very comprehensive. In small words, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam delivers big meanings. رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ وَتُبْ عَلَيْنَا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ اللهم اجعلنا من أهل القرآن الذين هم أهلك وخاصتك وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين آمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.